Joined by sports director Matt McCoy and former quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes, Stanley Jackson. Stanley, as we sit here right now, your mind, the most likely national title game, LSU-OSU?
Yeah, it is. I think, based on the fact that Alabama was losing some key players, not Alabama, sorry, Alabama, because Jalen Hurts has always been there with them, but Oklahoma's losing key players. I'm not sure defensively they're going to be able to stop Clemson Man, I'm all messed up. Christmas got me all screwed up. I'm not sure defensively they're going to be able to stop LSU. And for all the talk and all the favorites that people think Clemson is this really good football team, I know they've been great the last 6 games, but they've played nobody. Ohio State is battle-tested. They've got just as much talent, and they've got just as good coaching staff. I believe the Buckeyes will win that game.
What's the matchup, Stan, for the Ohio State-Clemson game? I mean, you look on paper, they're both stacked. Is there one that you're going to be keeping a close eye on? And if this goes well for Ohio State, it's going to be a good day. What one are you looking at?
Well, can I give you 2?
Okay, yeah. Give me 2, 10, whatever. Yeah, whatever. But what ones jump out at you?
So let me give you a grouping, and then I'll give you 2 individual players. I think the Ohio State secondary versus the Clemson receiving core is going to be vital. I know a lot of people are high on Trevor Lawrence, but he tends to throw balls. He tends to throw errant balls, but those receivers are so good that they make those bad throws into receptions because, they contort their bodies, they jump over people, they lay on the ground. So can our defensive back group stick with those guys and prevent them from making acrobatic catches? If you guys just remember last year's national championship game, I know Trevor Lawrence got a lot of love, but it was really those receivers that made it go. And then for our defense, it's really Chase Young against Carmen Jackson. A kid from Ohio decided to go to Clemson. He's one of their best linemen. He struggled at times this year. Does Clemson have enough gumption to leave Carmen one-on-one with Chase? Because if they do, then that's going to be a problem for them and Trevor Lawrence. And if he can win that battle, if he can have the Wisconsin game, if he can have the Penn State game that he had, then it's very difficult for any team to pass the ball effectively. And I'm expecting Chase to get back to that dominant performance that got him to New York this year.
That's interesting, too, because Jackson Carmen's a guy that picked Clemson over Ohio State. He's an Ohio kid. So it is a big matchup in that way. What about the quarterback matchup, Stan? Trevor Lawrence, you mentioned, he threw 8 interceptions this year, but he hasn't thrown any the last 6 weeks and is clearly one of the better quarterbacks. People say he's going to be the number 1 pick in 2 years. Justin Fields are both Georgia kids, grew up near each other, top 2 quarterbacks in the recruiting class. Is there an edge one way or the other in your mind in that matchup?
Well, I'll say this. I mean, we always talk about the quarterback matchups as though they're playing each other. So as a quarterback, you really don't think about it. So maybe at the end of the game, you see how good the other kid did. I will say this, though. If there is an edge, I'm going to give it to Justin. Justin runs a lot better than Trevor Lawrence, even though Trevor is athletic. But that's not the edge I'm giving him. I'm giving him the edge of history because you mentioned they were both highly recruited coming out. How Trevor Lawrence got the edge, I'm really not sure. Because if you go back to their senior season at the Elite 11 camp where they were against each other, they played each other twice in that scenario, and our guy whooped Trevor Lawrence. So how Trevor got the nod, I don't know. Somebody said maybe he's taller, maybe they think he's got a bigger arm. But at the end of the day, you got to make plays on the field. And so I'm going to give the edge to our guy. Here's the other thing. You mentioned the 8 interceptions, even though he hasn't thrown any in the last 6 games. But guess what? Our guy hasn't thrown any since, week 2, week 3?
Yeah.
He's got 40 to 1. He protects the football. He doesn't put this team in a bad situation, and that's why they're sitting where they are.
Yeah, and Stanley, it's funny to me, you talk about Justin Fields with the run. I still feel like J.K. is the guy. I think he's got a lot to prove. Just based on, award season where, I'm not saying he got passed over. He was always kind of in the conversation, but he didn't get to go to the Heisman deal. He was never, the top guy getting the award when a lot of the guys around him were. I just feel like he's going to get out there and just say, look, you missed it when you didn't pick me for something.
Yeah, listen, you and I totally agree. I think he is the catalyst behind our offense. I know that Justin has done a great job. But the way we can run the football this year has really changed how defenses have to defend us. It gives a lot of one-on-one opportunities for our wide receivers and our quarterback. I think J.K. has been the key to that. I think he's had a chip on his shoulder all year long, and I hope that he's taking it personal, and I hope he's preparing for this game. On the flip side, they've got a pretty good running back, too. I think Etienne leads the nation in yards per carry. He's a guy that's been very productive here late in the season. So that battle in particular, will be fascinating to watch. Typically, 9 times out of 10, the team that wins the rushing battle is the team that wins the game. So whatever one of those guys can get off first is going to be very important.
Okay, Stan, real quick, Joel and I just had this conversation, shifting gears. First pick of the draft, the Bengals have it. Are you taking Joe Burrow or are you taking Chase Young?
It's a no-brainer, Matt. You know who I'm taking. There are no guarantees with any of these quarterbacks in the draft, not one of them. And one of them may be a Hall of Famer. But I think there's as good a guarantee with Chase Young as there is anybody in this draft. And then the way the NFL is changing, the things that these athletic quarterbacks are doing, I'm taking Chase number 1, and then I'm going to wait a round or 2. If he's still there, I'm getting Jalen Hurts, and that would be my plan for the future. These teams have to stop betting everything on one player. Build around a quarterback, and then you'll see how successful he can be.
Absolutely brilliant. Stan, it's what we expect. Have a great new year, and go Bucks. Stanley Jackson here on News Radio 610 WTVN.